In a couple of months, Sovryn will be 2 years old, a baby. And yet, in those 2 years, the community and the developers working on Sovryn have managed to turn it into the leading DeFi for Bitcoin platform. In that period of time, we've built out the foundations for an entire world built on Bitcoin. Spot trading, margin trading, limit orders, lending, stablecoin exchange, Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, Lightning Network integration, governance systems, NFT tooling, community and values, and a launch platform, together representing the world's leading smart contract and DeFi ecosystem for Bitcoin. Now we will be revealing the next phase in hyper-Bitcoinization, focused on bridging Bitcoin with the real-world economy, so that we may truly build a world built on Bitcoin. So today we'll be celebrating a new phase for Sovryn, with a new aesthetic, a new site, a new UI design system, and revealing the Sovryn dollar, which I think is going to be a game changer. For the first time, anyone in the world will be able to use their Bitcoin for everyday purchases, everyday savings, use it as everyday money, without the need for central intermediaries, central banks, or even centralized stablecoins. But first, some numbers. Over the last 2 years, Sovryn has become the #1 destination for people who are looking to trade Bitcoin for dollars in a decentralized fashion. More than $1.8 billion in trades. Any project with that kind of number would be super proud of it. But Sovryn is more than just trading. When it comes to lending, Sovryn has become one of the most profitable places for people to look to earn yield with their dollar value. The interest rate paid by Sovryn is 2.5 times that of Aave and 4 times that of Compound. In addition to peer-to-peer lending, we've also recently introduced Zero, the 0% interest lending, which has made over $9 million in loans in early access over the last few months, and has seen continuous growth, now with over 700 Bitcoin in collateral. Early signs of a killer app. So Sovryn is a leader in Bitcoin native trading, is a leader in lending yield, and has done something amazing in staking as well. In Q4 of last year, SOV stakers earned annualized yield of 27%. I think that's a phenomenal number, but it becomes even more impressive when you take into account that this was paid out not in SOV token, but in BTC. This was in pure Bitcoin, profits generated by the protocol in order to incentivize people to align the governance of the protocol and protect users. And when you look at it at an annual level, across 2022, that number rises to 33%. Sovryn is a hidden gem, leading the way in trading, leading the way in lending, and doing amazing things in staking too. It reminds me that when the last bull market was kicking off, legendary investor Paul Tudor Jones said that he was going to be investing in Bitcoin because he wanted to invest in the asset class that was the fastest horse. But within the Bitcoin ecosystem, which project has been the fastest horse? Well, when we compare Sovryn to some of the other leading projects that are frequently better funded and have had a massive head start, what do we see? One example is Liquid, right? It's been around for years, has raised hundreds of millions of dollars, but in terms of TVL, in terms of funds actually being managed by users in DeFi platforms, Liquid is significantly smaller than Sovryn. Another important player in the space is Stacks. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been invested in Stacks. Stacks has had many years of head start over Sovryn. And yet, when it comes to TVL and funds used by users in protocols, their ecosystem is smaller than Sovryn. In fact, Sovryn is larger than both Liquid and Stacks put together. And that is only looking at the Sovryn core systems. When you look at the ecosystem, which includes projects like Money on Chain and BabelFish that has grown around Sovryn, Sovryn's ecosystem is not just the leading Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem. It's larger than all of the rest put together. It is the vast majority. And to give you some numbers around this, let's look at a comparison with Stacks. $91 million is currently being managed by users within the Sovryn ecosystem, in comparison to some $16 million in the Stacks ecosystem. The Sovryn ecosystem is almost 6 times larger than the Stacks ecosystem when it comes to organic growth, trade activity, and TVL. And it continues to grow faster. What we're seeing here is the accelerating growth of the fastest horse. And so we have a lot to be proud of. We, the builders, the users, the developers, the stakers, us sovereigns, in just 2 years, not only have we built a self-sustaining Bitcoin native ecosystem, we've also built the world's leading Bitcoin native smart contract and DeFi ecosystem. And most importantly, we did it by sticking to our principles and our core values. So the numbers are great. The products are great. The things we will be revealing today are great. But for it to continue the way it's been going, for it to be as meaningful as it has been, we need to be very clear on what those core principles, that mission, those values are. Our goal has always been to build the tools and community to maximize individual freedom. Freedom that is only attainable through ownership. Ownership of your assets, ownership of your choices, ownership of your ability to make decisions, ownership of your fate. It is that ownership which is the very definition of self-sovereignty. Freedom is ownership, is sovereignty. So of course, those of us interested in these things, we started with Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin changed what ownership means. Bitcoin changed what sovereignty means. Bitcoin changed what chains mean. From chains of servitude to chains of freedom, the blockchain. Each of us, in our own way, was drawn to Sovryn because we wanted to extend that chain of freedom. But we've all noticed that bit by bit, even with Bitcoin itself, our sovereignty was being chipped away. Centralized exchanges and lending platforms break the chain by taking custody of our Bitcoin. Centralized assets like fiat or bonds or shares in companies break the chain because governments tell us what we can invest in and when. Centralized assets like real estate or property registries break the chain because, again, we rely on governments to tell us, can we rent out our properties? Are we able to use them? Where can we purchase? Centralized communication and social networks break the chain by taking control of what we can see, what we can say, and even of our social graph itself. Where these systems break the chain, Sovryn looks to correct it. That's why we build DeFi for Bitcoin. And our next mission is to extend it. To extend it to other types of assets and tokens like we've done with the SOV. To extend it to currency and to money like we're doing with the sovereign dollar. And eventually to extend it to communication systems, to property, and even real-world territories, real-world government. To truly build a world on Bitcoin. To achieve all of this, Sovryn will need to evolve through several phases. The first phase, building the basic infrastructure, the primitives, the basic building blocks that allow us to build the foundations for all the rest, that's been the last 2 years. The next phase that we're moving into is building a real-world economy with Bitcoin-backed money and the ability for people to peacefully transact between themselves in an unstoppable way anywhere in the world. The phase beyond that will be about building a sovereign society, building out the DAO tooling, feudarchy, improvements to Bitocracy that are going to allow us to improve our decision-making process collectively and to coordinate many sovereign individuals to work together. The final stage will be for the nation of sovereigns to acquire autonomous territories where we can build free, stateless societies governed by sovereign individuals. Throughout all of these phases, as we're building out the technology, the tools, we must also be building out the culture that will support our ability to work together and stay motivated and united to achieve these goals. And that means building out a sovereign culture, and part of that is sovereign art. From the very earliest days, the artists who were working on Sovryn recognized the need to create a new type of visual aesthetic, one which departed from the nihilism, the irony, and the nostalgia that currently is so dominant in our nihilistic toxic and pessimistic society. In the same way that developers created the primitives upon which we are building the technology, they created the primitive images, which were the first website. They focused on heroism of the individual, on the ability of Bitcoiners through Sovryn to gain mutant powers. Sovryn has come a long way since then. In the last 2 years, it's grown, matured, and its ambition has grown with it. And so our visual aesthetic needs to evolve and mature as well. So today, I'm very excited to show you what the artists within the Sovryn community have been working on. A new visual aesthetic that symbolizes the things that Sovryn represents, the things to which we say yes. Yes to the individual, yes to self-sovereignty, yes to differences, no to coercion and corruption in the name of equality. Yes to tomorrow, yes, the future can be better than today. Yes to long-term thinking, yes to optimism, no to pessimism and nostalgia. Yes to technology, yes to solving our problems through innovation, yes to curiosity, yes to digital, but also yes to reality. Yes to being out there in the real world. Yes to touching grass. Yes to nature. Yes to truth. And yes to action. Yes to overcoming adversity. Yes to experimentation and mistakes and imperfection along the way. Yes to unity. Yes, we are strongest when we work together. Yes to collaboration. Yes to generosity. Yes to free markets. Yes to standards and rules that we freely choose to abide by. And yes to a sovereign nation. Yes, we can build the world anew. And so I'm really excited to invite Wayne, adoption lead for Sovryn, to present the new branding based on these design principles. Wayne.
Thank you, Iago.
Thank you. Floor is yours.
Hello, Sovryns. I am very excited to announce today the launch of our new Sovryn brand. We think is going to make us really stand out in market. And at the same time, the launch of our new website and front end, which I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek at now. A brand that we believe is brave enough to be unique. A brand that looks like nothing else in market. We've deliberately created our own style. Call it Sovryn Punk, our own version of the Sovryn future. What you're going to see is a big brand, a bold brand, a brave brand, one that we think elicits change and forward thinking and shows a better future built on sovereignty and Bitcoin. So a couple of the key elements, the brand guidelines. Topography, first of all. What you can see is big, bold, and unashamed topography. We think this talks to the ambitions of Sovryn and how we're driving change for individuals globally. Also homage to those brave sovereign individuals who are out there changing the world. Coloration of the new brands. The orange that you see clearly emphasizes the connection with Bitcoin, the backbone of Sovryn. The green of the teal is boots on the ground and grassroots and building for the real world. One of our core ambitions that you heard Iago talking to earlier. The blue of the teal, synonymous with limitless horizons and flight. We think this combination gives a sense of heroism and unmistakable optimism, a bright future on the horizon for Sovryn. Our illustrations, the heart of this new brand, we've used AI to generate the images to show a bold time and a better world in the not too distant future. The images, we think, combine the best of man and machine, of nature and technology. Call it a sovereign utopia with Bitcoin as one of its key foundations. And one of the things we're most proud about is, as a DAO, we've deliberately chosen open source AI technology and AI prompts so that anybody in the community can build on this imagery and evolve it and make it their own over time. And the Sovryn logo, as you can see, a clear evolution of the previous logo, chosen by the community, but this version being cleaner, more evocative of the shield and the protector of self-sovereignty and the superhero in all of us, the superhero that's come from the first iteration of the brand 2 years ago, which Iago showed you. All these elements, we think, will make the brand pop in market, will drive brand awareness, drive consideration, and ultimately help us grow the protocol and the community. So how does this fit into the new website that's launching today? Let's have a little look at some of the key features. So with the new website, you can see that the new brand aesthetic in the Sovryn world is ubiquitous across all of the pages. It follows you across the journey on the site. The website was built with a few key considerations in mind. Usability and interactivity and customer experience at the forefront of everything. Wealth of content and knowledge for both existing Sovryn community members and people who might be new to the protocol and want to find out who we are. A key journey that we can look at right now is somebody who might have seen marketing material for zero. They're either going to come straight to the homepage and go through the primary nav, or more than likely they'll go directly through a link to the zero page. Once they get here, they have everything they need. There's an immediate CTA for those with strong intent and who know what zero is. There's a wealth of information for new people. There's wikis, there's videos, there's content and use cases for what to do with your zero loans, and everywhere drivers to convert onto zero. Similar with Sovryn Dollar and all of our other key trading features. I'm very much looking forward to the community jumping in, playing around with the new UX, giving us feedback, asking any questions. And I'm also very excited to introduce John Light to show you the new version of the Sovryn Trading DApp.
Hi everyone, this is Light and I'm a product contributor for Sovryn. Today I'm going to be demoing our new web app. Before we dive in, for any developers and designers who are in the audience, if you like what you see, get in touch with us so we can share some more information with you about our new Sovryn design system and UI library that we used to build this web app. Now, let's go ahead and dive in. What we're looking at here is the borrow page. It shows us some statistics about the Zero protocol, as well as some statistics about the wider Zero and Sovryn Dollar ecosystem. And then we can see a chart with the lower 20 system lines of credit as ordered by their collateral ratio. This can just give you a quick at-a-glance sense of the health of the Zero protocol. So if you already have some test RBTC in your wallet, as I currently do, you're going to have a button here that says Open Line of Credit. So let's go ahead and open a line of credit. Now, the first thing you'll notice here is that the asset that you can choose to borrow is the Sovryn Dollar. This is a new feature of the new web app. It has a native integration with Sovryn Dollar so that you can borrow Sovryn Dollars directly from your line of credit. I'm going to go ahead and create my line of credit with the minimum amount of debt required, which is 200. And I'm going to add some collateral so that I have a healthy collateral ratio of 181%. This is a new visualization tool that we added where we give a health indicator of how healthy your collateral ratio is going to be when you create your line of credit. If the bar is green, that indicates that your line of credit is going to be safe from liquidation if the protocol enters recovery mode. If it's yellow, it means that you're still above the minimum collateral ratio, but if the system does go into recovery mode, then you're at risk of liquidation. And then if it's red, it's going to block you from opening your line of credit because your collateral ratio is below the minimum required amount. We also show your liquidation price under normal mode and the liquidation price under recovery mode. Again, just to give you a sense of your risk level when you are opening your line of credit. So let's go ahead and open the line of credit. All right, so now we have our open line of credit. And we can see at the top here a quick status indicator of our line of credit where we can see our current collateral balance, our current debt amount, and the current collateral ratio. All right, and now that we have some Sovryn Dollars, we can go put those Sovryn Dollars to work. If we go to the Earn page, then we can see where we can deposit some Sovryn Dollars into the stability pool and earn some BTC by providing liquidity for zero liquidations. And so I could go to my rewards page in order to see the rewards that I've earned and withdraw them either directly to my address, or I would be able to transfer them directly to my line of credit collateral balance to improve the health of my collateral ratio. We also have a settings page where you can sign up for email notifications. These will tell you about important events related to your line of credit or the Zero protocol. And then lastly, we have a history section, and I can also export the history to CSV, which I can use for accounting purposes by importing into spreadsheet software. And that concludes today's tour of the new Sovryn web app. Remember that all of this is happening on testnet, and we can expect that there are going to be some imperfections in the user interface. If you want to try the new Sovryn web app for yourself, you can check it out on the rootstock testnet at test.sovryn.app. Thanks for coming to the demo, and enjoy the rest of the event.
And now the part that I've been waiting for, introducing the Sovryn dollar. In 2009, Satoshi gave the world Bitcoin. One of the key quotes that I often think about is when he explained that he did this so that we may conquer new territories for freedom. And because Bitcoin has such a stark contrast, such a stark alternative to the corruptibility of fiat, it has indeed conquered for millions of us new territories of freedom. But despite its immaculate conception and near perfection, it has always had a significant limitation. That limitation is a lack of stability in terms of everyday prices that most people live their lives in. And as the years have passed, that limitation has grown more and more obvious. And today, what has filled the space between Bitcoin and fiat is a $140 billion market of stablecoins, centralized, corruptible, dangerous stablecoins. But what if we could combine the best of both worlds, the incorruptibility of Bitcoin with the stability of fiat? In that case, Bitcoin would be able to do so much more. It would be everyday payments for everyday people, everyday savings. It would allow us to win a major battle and conquer new territories for freedom. Real-world economic activity for real people. That is the promise of a Bitcoin dollar. So I'm excited to introduce a way for us to compete directly with central banks, a way for us to create a Bitcoin-backed dollar. I'm excited to introduce the Sovryn dollar. So the Sovryn ecosystem is growing, and this year and beyond, that growth will be to a great extent driven by the Sovryn dollar. And there are a lot of partners and teams who are looking to build on the Sovryn dollar. I think now is a good time to meet them. Let's start with Anders Henriksen. Anders really represents the diversity of what it is and who is attracted to Sovryn. Anders comes from some of the biggest banking names in the world, led derivatives at Citibank, led global FX at Lloyds Bank, and I'd like to invite him to the stage now to talk about Sovryn Financial. Anders, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will be introducing you to Sovryn Financial, a novel solution for secure and seamless integration of crypto and traditional finance. We call it a Volvo of wallets. So previous suppliers in this space failed, and they failed because they didn't deliver on the very premise of Bitcoin and decentralized finance, trustlessness. And they failed in ways we are familiar with. They failed in terms of control and ownership. They failed because of mismanaged collateral. And also they failed in terms of illiquid assets, often with opaque valuations. And in this proven market, there is a massive opportunity. The supply side disappeared over a couple of months last year, and the demand side was still there. Millions of clients looking to put billions of dollars in credit lines to work. Now, Sovryn Financial has a sound finance solution to exactly this problem. It's sound finance for 3 reasons. 1, self-custodial, so you stay in control without compromising ownership. Pricing at 0% interest rate free for as long as you want. And thirdly, a fully complete dollar account. Checking, payments, wires, whatever you're used to, there. Now, it's easy to use. You hold your coins in your wallet. Sovryn Financial lets you, without selling your coins and still being in control of your coins, put the money to work. Activate a line of credit, use the funds in your account, and spend the funds as you would do normally, when and how you want. We are leveraging Sovryn's Zero protocol. This protocol, without subsidies, without other incentives, has already in 6 months amassed more than $14 million in crypto-backed collateral. $8 million of loans issued with an average asset balance of more than $60,000. And the protocol is scalable for the future. Now we're looking at the market. We have 100,000 people already in the Sovryn community, people that you expressed an interest for exactly this type of product. And beyond that, about 1 million early adopters in the extended community. And next, these 5 million of users, roughly, that were left unserved when the previous suppliers disappeared. And beyond that, well, 1 in 5 people in the US holds or have held cryptocurrency. The future of sound finance is here. And this year, Sovryn Financial will bring it to the mass market.
Next up, we have Manu from Flipago. Flipago are a really important project because what they provide is not just USD stablecoins, but highly local stablecoins. For example, in Argentina, the ability to create a stablecoin tied to the peso. That's important not because it's more stable, but because people need it for everyday purchases and everyday needs. Flipago uses dollar stablecoins backed by Bitcoin to create those kinds of assets. So let's hear about Flipago from Manu. All right, Manu, thank you very much for joining us. So what do you got to tell us today?
Flipago, I'm very, very happy to introduce this protocol for the first time in public. So Flipago is a multi-peg currency stablecoin protocol with focus in currencies from Latin America. This is something that a lot of Bitcoiners in Latin America have asked us to build because it's needed for real people in these countries. We already have institutional users line up to use this protocol. An example is the crypto. So Flipago token, in the case of the crypto, is going to be used for enabling people to get Argentine peg-denominated loans, because nobody in Latin America wants to get a loan in US dollar currency. So they will get a loan in Argentine pesos. Bitcoin-backed stablecoins is what allows all this to work. There is many other examples. The sovereign dollar is very important because this will bring a lot of liquidity of stablecoin in Bitcoin. And the sovereign dollar holders will have another use case for them to add collateral to the protocol. So there is a huge opportunity for integrated all these ecosystems. So I'm super excited.
Awesome. So we see how the sovereign dollar allows us to provide stability, not just in dollars, but in other types of asset as well. So next up, we have Alexandria the Great all the way from Zimbabwe. He's going to tell us about how sovereign dollar and Bitcoin are becoming more and more important in Zimbabwe and the work that he's doing to bring the sovereign dollar to that country. It's a great way to illustrate how important the sovereign dollar is, not just in the Western world, but across the developing world.
Hey, Jacob. Thanks for having me over.
So it's great to have you here joining us. Maybe tell us a little bit about why Bitcoin is so important in Zimbabwe.
Yes, in Zimbabwe, we do not have a reliable currency and we have low access to US dollars. People are desperately in need for a dollar value for things such as remittances, saving, and international commerce. Zimbabwe have embraced Bitcoin, but we haven't adopted centralized stablecoins, which is very unlike other developing countries. That's why the sovereign dollar is uniquely fit, because it's a decentralized stablecoin that is easily convertible to Bitcoin. So me and my partners are working to bring the sovereign dollar adoption to Zimbabwe. Currently, Bitcoin is sold at a 10% premium and sometimes as high as 22%. Using the sovereign dollar, we can sell Bitcoin and stablecoins at a 3% markup. The sovereign dollar allows my company to sell Bitcoin without the volatility, which enables my company to charge low commissions and be the most competitive Bitcoin seller in the country.
Alex, thank you so much for joining. What you're doing is super important, and it's such a great explanation of how the sovereign dollar can change people's lives.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next up, we have BabelFish. Now, BabelFish, I'm sure, doesn't need much of an introduction. It is the leading stablecoin project in the Sovryn ecosystem and a major provider of liquidity for the sovereign dollar. They're now going to be introducing a new UI, and we're seeing UI improvements across the ecosystem, as well as introducing new incentive curves to make sure that there is liquidity for sovereign dollar to other stablecoins and back. Hyde?
Thank you for having me here and the chance to talk a bit about BabelFish. BabelFish is a DAO. It's run by the community and for the community. Our ultimate goal is hyper-Bitcoinization. There are numerous ways to achieve that, and we believe that stablecoins are one of them. As long as people don't switch from expressing value in dollars to sats, stablecoins will remain the bloodstream of DeFi. Of course, we have to be cautious and constantly monitor the situation around aggregated stablecoins. Emergency deposit pause feature was introduced recently. It works in two ways. It pauses deposits of stablecoins which have lost their peg by at least 3% for more than 10 minutes. It is very important that a sufficiently diversified and balanced basket of stablecoins will also enable XUSD holders and users of other stablecoins like sovereign dollars, for example, to swap to their preferred stablecoin on other chains at any time. And I believe that this feature, stablecoin basket balancing curves, which we are currently working on, is going to be a true game changer. Keeping it short, it will provide incentives and penalties on withdrawals and deposit of certain stablecoins to maintain the desired allocation. It will reward users of the BabelFish aggregator for maintaining the collaterals balance. Before I will finish, just let me talk briefly about our latest achievement, which we are very proud of. It's a new version of our web app. It became more accessible, clear, and user-friendly, and is consistent with our BabelFish brand.
Super cool. Awesome. Thanks very much for calling in. Really exciting to see the developments, the new curves, the new UI, exporting stablecoins to other chains. Super exciting stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so next up, we have Joe Burnett from Blockware. Blockware are the leading provider of Bitcoin mining equipment and intelligence in the United States. They have been in the space for over a decade. They're super excited about Bitcoin DeFi and particularly about Zero and the sovereign dollar. Joe, thanks for joining us. You've been talking for a while about sovereign dollar and been pretty excited about Zero. What's coming up next? What are you here to tell us about?
Learned in 2022 that centralized platforms like Celsius and BlockFi were not transparent and destined to implode. And with the sovereign ecosystem in Zero, there's now this more trustless and transparent way to borrow against Bitcoin. So at Blockware, we're announcing a partnership with Sovryn to enable Blockware clients to use the Sovryn ecosystem to borrow dollars against Bitcoin collateral and use those dollars to purchase and host Bitcoin ASICs with Blockware. So effectively, this enables you to use your Bitcoin to get more Bitcoin. Now, we do have a QR code to sign up and join the wait list to buy Bitcoin mining rigs without selling your Bitcoin. We're excited about sovereign dollar because people want to hold Bitcoin, right? But they also want to mine Bitcoin. So they want to get more Bitcoin, but they don't want to sell their Bitcoin. I think sovereign dollar is kind of a happy medium of more transparency and cheaper cost.
What can you tell us about Blockware and sort of like its leadership position in the market? Like how would you introduce Blockware?
Blockware is one of the largest ASIC brokerages in the US. And we also have an intelligence and research arm to Blockware Intelligence, where we have a podcast, newsletter, put out full reports. We've released a report with Riot Platforms. And yeah, so definitely check us out.
All right, Joe. Thank you very much. Stay sovereign.
I think that's an amazing vote of confidence from a significant player in the space. I think it demonstrates full circle Bitcoin economy, buying with Bitcoin, earning in Bitcoin, using Bitcoin, and you can participate in it. Find the QR code now and pre-register. In time for Sovryn's second birthday, we have made great strides towards building a world on Bitcoin. We covered some of the numbers, and we've also discussed what the new phase brings. The next phase in hyper-Bitcoinization. The next phase in methodically building, block by block, a world on Bitcoin. And we've also spoken about what's coming in 2003 and beyond. A new aesthetic, a new site, a new dApp, an entirely new UI system, and of course the sovereign dollar, and all of the conversations with partners who are building around the sovereign dollar, turning it into an engine for a true free economy. This is how we will all stay sovereign.